Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker. And on this show, we are looking to help you work smarter, to help you stay focused on what's most important and to, challenge yourself and learn some new things from our guests who have expertise in a variety of different areas. So I'm super excited today to have an old friend. We haven't connected, so this is a great reconnection for us to get connected and everybody to listen up. Lynda Sunshine West is on, and she is going to be talking today about breaking through your fears and how she did it, and what she's up to today is incredible. Basically, she ran away from home at 5 years old, and she was gone an entire week, which is crazy to me. I was gone like 5 minutes. And she came home riddled with fears, and in turn, she became a people pleaser. And at 51, she decided to break through that fear every day for a year. So it was like her year of fears. And in doing so, she gained an exorbitant amount of confidence that helped her now to share her story. Her mission is to empower 5 million women and men to write their stories to make greater impact on the planet. And she is the founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing, a best-selling book publishing expert, speaker, and a 38-time #1 international best-selling author, contributing writer at Entrepreneur Magazine, senior level executive contributing writer at Brains Magazine, executive film producer, and red carpet interviewer. So you guys are all jealous of all that she's done, but you can do it too. So let's hear a little bit more about her journey. So Lynda, welcome.
Thanks so much, Penny. And of course, as always, it's great to see you again. And you were at the very beginning of that journey of breaking through those fears. So I'm glad that I was breaking through fears so that I could meet you, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have met you.
So we met each other, for those who are listening, we met each other at a great forum called CEO Space. So did you join that organization so that you could sort of start this journey? Was that it? You just like, I don't know, I got to get here and that'll take me to wherever goes next. Is that what happened?
Well, it was kind of the opposite of that. In 2015, I decided to break through a fear every single day because I realized that fear was stopping me from living my life. And anytime something was scary, I just wouldn't do it. That was how I lived 51 years. And having that epiphany that fear was stopping me, I decided to break through a fear every day. So in March of that year, so we're about 2.5 months into breaking through fears, I was attending an event called Secret Knock, and the founder of CEO Space was a speaker there. And he invited us all to attend CEO Space. I broke out my credit card and I plunked down that money. It was a scary moment for me because it was, I think at that time it was $7,500, which was like, oh my God, some room on my credit card. I'll just put it on that. I didn't know what was going to come of it. I had no idea what was going to happen.
That's a bold move.
Yeah, it was. And it was a fear that I was breaking through in that moment to invest in myself. $7,500 investment in myself is what it was. And so I didn't know anything about what was going to happen when I got there, who I was going to meet. But I'll share with you this, that I got to CEO Space, the event, just for those who don't know. It starts on a Monday and runs through a Friday, but on the Saturday and Sunday before, they do something called capital class, or they teach you how to raise capital for your business. I had no idea what that was all about, but I'm going to go early. I'm going to learn everything I possibly can during this event. So I got to the venue on Friday and they were hosting a happy hour, and I didn't show up to the happy hour because I had driven there and I was tired. So Saturday morning comes and capital class is happening, and I decided not to go down. Then Sunday comes and capital class is happening. I decided not to go down. I literally stayed in my hotel room for 2.5 days because I had a fear of going down there. My imposter syndrome started showing up like fireworks. It was like, I don't belong here. Who do I think I am? I'm not a real CEO. At the time, it was just me and my business. And like, I'm like a fake CEO. I don't belong here. These people are all smart and brilliant. Like, I'm comparing myself to what I believed what was going to be in that room. And I was really doubting myself. And so when I showed up Monday morning, which I didn't show up until 11 because I almost didn't go Monday also, I looked at myself in the mirror in my room that I had been in my room for 2.5 days, ordered room service. I didn't even go outside of my room. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, get your clothes on and get down there. Go take a shower. Like I hadn't even taken a shower. Take a shower, get yourself down there and go down there like you own the place. And so I finally made myself get down there. And I'm so glad I did that because Penny, that was like the most, I can't even explain, but the most growth I ever had in my entire life was during that 1 week.
I believe it. It's an incredible group of people. And so I was there. We met at this event. And, I thought that was actually a special event. There was, sometimes there's just a little bit of magic and there always is there. But I don't know, that particular session, I felt like there was a little bit of magic. So
I hunted you out, by the way, because Penny was one of the speakers at the event. And after you spoke about, time, like you were talking about time at that event, and the speakers they had a table that you could go sit at their table and, learn from them during your lunch breaks and dinner breaks. And so I searched out your table, Penny, and I was like, I have got to learn about time because I was terrible at time management. And I just wanted to absorb whatever I could from you, during that 1 hour of lunch. And that was the start of it. That was the actual start that I did something like that. And I said, I'm going to go talk to this woman.
And do you remember what it was that you took away from that?
Yeah, boy, I do. You had us do an exercise. I might not be able to say it properly, but you can correct me. You had us do an exercise where we wrote down what we do in, I think it was a week. It might've been a day or a week. I don't remember.
It was a week.
Okay, a week. Okay. And so after that, then you had us add it all up and everything. And I recognized that I do not live 37 hours a day. In my mind, everything that I did it actually equaled out to 37 hours. That was a huge aha moment for me that I don't have any idea what I'm doing with my time.
And I do it's changed a little bit, but a similar exercise. And I think everybody who's listening, start there, right? Is just figure out where you are spending your time and where you need to be spending your time. You can do that with a simple time audit, with a simple little exercise like that. And it can make all the difference, right? It's silly, but just getting it down on paper and seeing it like in one overview can be really powerful.
Yeah. What was funny for me about it is when you had us do that exercise, I was like, oh, I got this. So much confidence in what I was doing and how I was spending my time. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing.
I think a lot of people feel that way. They even know they don't know what they're doing, but they don't know how to get out of it. And I think also your experience around fear and imposter syndrome, I'm not looking to minimize it or anything, but I think a lot of people experience that.
Oh, it's very common, very common.
And so you being so open and talking about it can be really helpful for people to see, where are there opportunities that they're totally missing? Like you staying in your room, right? If you didn't come out, you would have missed all the people that you met and all the doors that opened because of those people that you met.
That's one of the things I talk about in my most recent book. It's called Do It Because You're Scared. So exactly what you said is that oftentimes, like if we allow our fear to stop us from, taking that step, that action, what are we missing on the other side? And then if we think about how many fears we do break through, when you do break through that fear, what do you experience on the other side? Maybe you're proud of yourself. You're glad you did it. You met somebody that you wouldn't otherwise have met. A door was open that you didn't even know was closed. And then after that, you're like, wow, that was amazing. I'm so glad I did it. So think about it from this perspective. If that's the case, if what I learned was 99% of the fears that I broke through, I got a great result. If that's the case, why am I depriving myself of that great result? So yeah, do it because you're scared, not do it in spite of the fear, because that's disempowering. But you say, oh, this is fear. I'm going to do this because I'm scared. You are now empowering yourself with the fear. And so it's like totally transformed my life and just living in that one philosophy right there.
That's amazing. So give us a short overview of what doors that opened up and where you are now.
Oh my gosh. Every single thing I'm doing today is a result of me breaking through those fears, every day for a year. you don't have to break through them every day for a year like I did. This was just a commitment that I made to myself. Why did I choose a year? I don't know. It was random. It was completely 100%. I woke up January 1st and I said, I'm going to break through a fear every day this year, And so it
And
was
you
random.
stuck to it.
And I stuck to it.
That's
Yeah.
pretty incredible right there, right? That's
Well,
a feat in
yeah.
itself, considering that, whatever the over 50% of people, don't follow through with their New Year's resolutions.
And that was the difference there. See, I don't make New Year's resolutions. I make New Year's commitments.
Commitment.
And that was a commitment to myself, to growth. And the doors that I've opened. So that whole entire list of accolades that you mentioned there, all of that happened as a result of me meeting one person on that journey. So as you mentioned about doors opening, so I met one person, his name is Greg Reed. He's one of my mentors. I ended up meeting him, in January of that year. So I'm like 20 days into it. And I ended up meeting him, and he's hosting this event, invited us all to come. And it was too expensive and I was not going to go. And I was like, I'm not going to pay that kind of money. I think it was $1,500. And at that time, I was accustomed to paying $25, for a quote unquote networking event, because I thought it was just like this big old networking event. And my life coach was with me when he spoke at the event we were at. And she goes, hey, are you going to go to Secret Knock? I'm going. And I looked at her and said, I'm not paying that kind of money. And she stared me in the face. She got close, really close. And she said, you don't understand. You have to be there. And I was like, okay, I'm going. My life coach really opened up my mind to who I am. And I knew one thing I learned about her is that she saw in me what I couldn't see in myself. And so in that moment, I said, okay, there's something that she sees that I need to be there. And so I'm going to go. And it was that one yes to myself. That was my first yes to like a financial yes to myself. And that one door was like a door to the entire world. It's kind of like when Dorothy, when she opened Oz, like she lands in Oz and the doors just open and it's all this beautiful color. That was my life, was opening up. And I didn't even know what it was opening up to. So it's been incredible. Absolutely, like interviewing stars on the red carpet, having private one-on-ones with like Jack Canfield and Les Brown. Those are two of my favorites, and becoming whatever I am, executive producer for a film, these different things. I'm becoming a book publisher and, 30 whatever times, number one international best-selling author. I was never into reading and never into writing. Like most unlikely person to become a publisher, because I had no interest in either. I'm a movie watcher, care about reading and all that stuff. But as I started my entrepreneurial journey, I started learning about books and I started learning about self-help books. And books have really opened my eyes to so many more things. And so I kind of stepped into the publishing and I was like, that was fun. I wasn't doing it as a publisher. I just did it for fun because my mentor does book publishing. And I was like, I'll just follow his footsteps. And the next thing I know, I'm like, just pushing these books out. And it's been just everything is aligning perfectly in alignment. It's been incredible.
That's great. That's when you just keep stepping forward and stepping into it. I wrote something down here in my notes that it sounds to me like there's your eagerness to learn is stronger than the fear. So it allows you to keep stepping through that. Is that a fair statement?
100%. And I remember, while I was during that year that I was breaking through those fears, my life coach said something to me that really stuck. And she said, you know what I love about you? You have this childlike wonder. And that's what it is.
What
it's
a nice
my
compliment.
desire. Yeah, because it's more like my desire to learn and grow, my desire to see what is out there. There's so much in this world that we don't know about.
Yeah. It's like that, like, oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
That's great.
It really is. And every day has become that. And it was interesting as I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household. And, when I came back home, and I was just at the neighbor's house when I was gone that week, by the way, but something happened in that week that really locked tight inside of me. Nobody came to get me. And since nobody came to get me, my belief as a 5-year-old was that they didn't come to get me because they don't want me around and they don't love me. The reality is my mom knew where I was and she was in communication with a neighbor every day. But my belief was I didn't know that, So when I did come home, the reality that I can't escape this environment, this abusive environment, and I just became fearful. I would hide in my room. When I would meet new people, I didn't even look them in the eyes. I literally walked down with my head bent down all the time. I wouldn't look people in the eyes until I was 51 years old because I had so much
Wow.
fear. Yeah.
That's got to be hard. Those are hard habits to break, right? You got to really dig
Yes.
deep to get past habits that have been there for, even if they're there 20 years is enough, right? But 50 years for sure.
Yeah. Well, here at CEO Space and all these environments I'm in now, there's, a lot of people that have just so much love pouring out of them. And, they're giving, 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 which I love that environment. I had to learn how to be that. I had to learn how to accept a hug. I had to learn how to accept somebody saying something nice about me. Like these were things I had to learn because I didn't live in that world. So one of the things I say is like, I didn't even know I was in the darkness until I became in the light because I'd lived 51 years of darkness.
I think that's true for a lot of people. I think they don't know. So until they experience it, right? And because that's your everyday of what you live in. And so it feels like that's normal. That's what everybody else has experienced. Not that it isn't normal, it's your normal, right? But not that there isn't another opportunity or something beyond that.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I love talking about this is that people can see that it doesn't matter how old you are. I was 51. You can teach an old dog new tricks. To me, 51 isn't old though. So, for somebody listening, I have met people who in their 40s say, oh, I'm too old to do that. Stop it. Just like Bob Newhart, he has that. Stop it, just stop it. Yeah, it's like you're here to live.
I agree. I think that sometimes people need to be shaken a little bit. And that's why I think sometimes we do need to, that's why people hit rock bottom and then that's when they change their life is because sometimes we need a kick in the butt or something to really push us into that space and recognize that life is here to be lived. And if you're not living it, it can also be taken away. So, yeah, definitely. Wow. Incredible. So what would you say for people who have, maybe it's not big fears, right? Maybe it's not debilitating fears, but they aren't maybe procrastination. Let's just start with that. I think that there's plenty of, it's just sort of resistance instead of, the fear. How would you advise people? Because I'm sure you get that as well, right? And I'm sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that still some of these things still pop up from now and again, and you have to constantly work at it, right? So some tips on how people can push themselves through when they're feeling that angst of procrastination.
Definitely. Procrastination is a great one. Imposter syndrome, perfectionism, all these things. One thing I learned during that year is that the vast majority of my fears, at least I can only speak to myself, but the vast majority of my fears were centered on the fear of judgment. So oftentimes procrastination is because maybe we're too perfect. Like we're wanting everything to be perfect, but mostly it's not our perfection because we're perfectionists. It's a lot of times it's because we have this fear that if somebody sees what we did and it wasn't perfect, then they will judge us, right? It goes back to the judgment. There's a saying that more people are scared of speaking on stage than they are of dying. And that's not true. The truth is that more people are scared of the judgment that they may receive on stage than they are of dying. Because you can speak on a stage if there's nobody around.
Right.
So it's not about the stage, right?
And so it's not about the stage.
Right. And so number one thing that I learned is to recognize that I'm experiencing a fear, first of all. Like that's the very first thing. Like having this awareness of what's happening.
So is it something that you're feeling in your body or what is the experience?
Yeah.
How do you recognize it so that somebody understands how they might recognize it?
Yeah, my hands could be sweaty, like my palms could be sweaty or shaking. My knees could be shaking. My stomach could be tossing and turning. I could get a lump in my throat. Maybe I'm getting a little bit of perspiration on my forehead. There's so many different ways that, anxiety and fear shows up. And so recognizing that, something's going on inside of my body. What is it? And then figuring out what that is. And when you can figure out what that is, then that's when you can take your next step. I created this. I'll just share it as quickly. It's a 7 simple step to break through fears every single time. And this was, as you're doing it for a year, like I had to come up with a system, something that wasn't going to make this so hard for me. And so I came up with this 7 simple steps, and I'll share it with you. What you do is you take your fears. So let's say you've been invited to a networking event. And I used to, when I would go to a networking events, I kid you not, Penny, I would sign up for these networking events because I was told you need to go to networking events if you want to be a successful business owner. And so I signed up for these networking events. I would drive there. And when I would get there, I would sit in my car, I would get on Facebook and never go inside because I had a fear of showing up. When I did go inside, I would go inside and I would go to the back of the room and then I would sit on my phone and not talk to anybody. Like now my phone doesn't even come out of my purse, because
Right.
I have gotten over that aspect of that fear. So anyway, we'll use the networking event as an example, because that's where
Okay.
Penny and I went and met, is a huge networking event. And so you just ask yourself a simple question. And the question is, and then insert your fear, if I attend the networking event today, will it adversely affect my life 1 year from today? So if I attend the networking event today, will it adversely affect my life 1 year from today? So in reality, you're like, oh, a year? No way. This isn't going to adversely, in a bad way, affect my life. And so you say, no, it won't. So then what you do is you go to the next step and you say the same thing. If I attend this networking event today, will it adversely affect my life 6 months from today? So what we're doing is we're stepping down, and we just step down through the process. And we say, 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, right now. Like, if I attend this networking event today, will it adversely affect my life tomorrow? And the reason the word adversely is there, you can't say, will it affect my life? Because yes, it can affect your life in a very positive way.
Right.
So the question is really important to use that word adversely. And then you have to go through the whole question each time and answer it, because our brain needs to be able to process that we've asked it a question.
Mm-hmm.
And so what this did for me is this brought me from that anxiety into logic.
Mm-hmm.
And when I used logic, I was like, no, this is not going to adversely affect my life at all. As a matter of fact, it could positively affect my life. This means I need to do it because I'm scared.
Makes
sense. This is everything I do today. If I feel fear, because I still feel it, I'm like, oh, that's fear. I got to do this because I'm scared.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. So many more things that we would open up for us if we would just do it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So is there anything else that I didn't ask you yet that you think is important to share with the audience?
And one thing I do, because we're talking about fear today, this is in relation to time as well. So another thing I've discovered during that year is that there are a bunch of acronyms out there: false evidence appearing real, face everything and run, face everything and rise, for fear. And so I came up with my own acronym, because one day I was brushing my teeth and I was like, false evidence appearing real. There's nothing false about my fears at all. They don't appear real. They are real to me.
Right.
And no matter how big or small a fear may seem to somebody else, to us, it's astronomical.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what the fear is. It is fear. Fear is fear. And I realized that one of the reasons I wasn't breaking through or stepping through those fears was because I didn't have faith in myself. I didn't have faith that I could do this. Sometimes I needed outward approval or outward, people to help me through this, to encourage me, cheerlead me on the way, what have you. And so I came up with my own acronym for fear, and that's faith erases anxious reactions. Faith erases anxious reactions. Because when our fear is strong, it means, we're in that anxiety state. And so when our fear is strong, our faith is weak. So what this means is we need to switch it. We need to have our faith be strong so that our fear will be weak. It might not disappear, but it will weaken when you have faith. This is faith in yourself. This is having faith in your mentors and your coaches, those who can help you along the way. This is having faith that I believe in God. So having faith in God that, he's there for me and he's going to take me across the finish line. So tapping into your faith is something that will really help you also to break through those fears. Just remember that there are people out there who want to support you. If you're having people in your life who aren't supportive, find people who will support you. That's what CEO Space was all about. It was all about support and everything.
Absolutely. And I think it's a great point. If you're in the wrong circle, that's how you know you're in the wrong circle. If you don't have people who are eager to support you and you support them, right, to be in relationship, then it's time for a new set of friends and a new set of colleagues or business associates or whatever level you want to call them. I think that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, it was interesting you say that, because when, I started this whole thing, this whole entrepreneurial journey, I had no idea what was going to happen and how my life was going to shift. But as I started growing and moving in different circles, as you mentioned, my old circles started disappearing. And I remember the day I was like, oh, I haven't heard from one of my friends, I haven't heard from her in 9 months. And we used to talk every week for years, decades. I was like, I haven't heard from her in 9 months. And I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
See, because I was growing and moving in a different direction and she wasn't. She was the same, moving in her own direction. And so we drifted apart. And the reason I was okay with that is because my life was so much better. It wasn't about her. It was about my life being better because I was surrounded by people like you who are, supportive, motivating, uplifting people. And I needed to be around those kinds of people so that I could become supportive and motivated and inspirational, right? I had to become that because I wasn't that for so many years of my life. That's not who I surrounded myself with. So I made a conscious choice to be like, you know what? I'm okay with that. And I'm going to keep moving and growing.
Well, I think that's what growth is, right? Is constantly looking for people who are doing what you want to do. If you're not doing it yet, showing up in the way that you want to show up, all of that, right? It's not just about having it, right? It's just about the nature and spirit of it as well, right?
Yeah, I'm going to share one last thing, Penny. And,
Okay.
and I think this is something that was kind of an epiphany I had just recently. So that's why I'd love to share it is, as we're going through life and business and, we have, time. I'm going to talk about time right here. There are so many things that maybe you want to do in life and you're not doing them because you're not sure how, you don't know how to take that next step, who to get the support from or what have you. But one thing I love to share with people is that right now I'm doing this thing where I not only interview stars on the red carpet, but I'm working with celebrities to publish their books. And how did I get into that? So I'm going to share with you how I did that so you can apply it to what it is that you're doing in your life. Is that I found out where those people were and I started hanging out there. I mean, it's really that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And, I found out that I could be part of an event. I do these gifting suites for celebrities for different events. And there I'm going to be surrounded by 60 to 70 celebrities. So if I want to connect with one celebrity, I'm much more likely to connect with one when I'm around 60 than if I'm going on the internet and trying to find them one at a time. So wherever it is that you want to be there now. Don't try to figure out how to get there. Just get there. Just get there. Surround yourself with the right people who can get you there. And that's what I've done is really surrounded myself with those who are in these areas, these circles, so that I can get into that circle. And it's amazing what unfolds when you do just take those steps to get yourself out there. Don't let your fears stop you because, then you're going to be delayed.
Yeah, for sure. I want to point something out, though, that many people may not. So you put yourself in those places, but you're also genuine, right? There's a difference when somebody gets in those places, but they're not genuine, and then they may not make those connections or it's not received, right? I think the reason that you're having that success is you put yourself in that place, but you're also being genuine. You're not trying to pull one over on someone or get them to do something for you. You want to learn, you have that type of approach. I think that matters as well.
That's true. Yeah. Because that part of that journey for me of, the self-discovery journey when I started working with my life coach was learning who I am so that I could be genuine. One thing I discovered during that year is that, we can't be authentic until we know who we are. Myself, I grew up as a people pleaser because, with my dad, the volatility, I always wanted him to be happy, to do what I could to make him happy. And that wanting to please him carried over into the rest of my life. And so as a people pleaser, I didn't even know who I was. If you liked it, I liked it. If you hated it, I hated it because I wanted you to like me. I operated my whole life based on, I just want people to like. And so once I started to really dive in and say, who am I really? That's when I was able to show up as who I am really. And it's been hard, it's been hard showing up and taking a risk that somebody might not like me. They might decide they don't want to be around me anymore. It's a risk, but the results have been way outweighed the risk that it was big time. And it's been incredible. And just like you said, showing up at these events, people they feel just this connection with me because I'm showing up as me, just as me. And I'm not here to take anything from anybody. I love to create win-win-win situations. So it's been incredible journey.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here. How can people find out more about you?
They can find us on actiontakerspublishing.com. And we're all over the socials. We're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Action Takers Publishing.
Awesome. And we'll have that in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Penny. I appreciate it.
And thank you all for being here. I hope that you are walking away thinking, where are you holding yourself back? Where is there an opportunity for you to say yes that you've been saying no to because of fear or anxiety, and step through it? Ask yourself, right? Like Lynda said, is this going to have an adverse effect, in 1 year, in 6 months, in, tomorrow? No. So if not, and you know that it's only going to be an upside, then just do it and take it one step at a time. So I hope this is going to lead to bolder, bigger moves for you. And I'm bringing it back to the time element, is that's going to create you to be able to take back time. It's going to give you more fulfillment in your life, more meaning. And that in itself is what time is all about. So thank you for being here. This is Take Back Time. And I'm Penny Zanker, the host, and I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.